Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Kocsis Sports Podcast, another UFC episode with Jake Standard. I'm your host, Christian Kocsis. Hope everybody enjoyed the fights last weekend. Extremely controversial finish in the main event. So we'll get into a little recap there in a moment. But Jake, how are you doing in the meantime? How'd you
Good.
enjoy the card last weekend? It was really good.
There's a lot of great fights. And like you said, there was some controversy around, some of the fights like Edgar's,
Mm-hmm.
which we'll get into,
Oh
and then
yeah,
also the main event. Um, but I mean, a lot to talk about. So we can go
yeah.
ahead and start rattling off.
So yeah, to start, we had Josephine Knudsen versus Marnik Mann. I don't think we're gonna see Marnik Mann. I mean, probably won't see her again in the UFC. She didn't look good. She didn't have anything to offer at all. Josephine Knudsen just continuously put the pressure on her and just completely demolished. I mean, 81 significant strikes to 8, 3 takedowns to 0, 10 minutes and 49 seconds of control time to 33 seconds. I mean, this is also 10 minutes and 49 seconds in a 15-minute fight. So this was not close at all. Kind of upsetting to see that Knudsen couldn't get the finish though, against a
Yeah,
completely outgunned Marnik Mann. So props to Mann for holding in, but definitely would have liked to see a finish. I don't know what your thoughts are on this one.
yeah. I mean, it's just like we thought. I mean, Ganotson was just going to come out and dominate. We didn't see Man coming out and really doing anything, and the strikes and the takedowns. I mean, you don't really see Man with really anything in any of these rounds. But like you said, if such a dominating performance, you'd like to see uh, a finish rather than it going to decision, especially against someone that really just doesn't have that much. So
Yeah, yeah, completely agree. Um, so not much more to talk about there. So the next fight, Alex Reyes, Charlie Campbell. Campbell gets the first round knockout. Um, 43 significant strikes in half of a first round to 14. I mean, Campbell just came out, put a whipping on him, knocked him out. It's pretty cut and dry. We predicted Campbell to win.
mhm.
I don't think that either one of us thought he was going to win this quick, this
No,
dominant, but it's really a fun fight to watch.
yeah, and personally thought Alex Reyes would do more. Um, didn't think he would win, but expected a little bit more. But he just did not look great in there. You know, Campbell
Yeah, I
it
mean,
didn't have much of a challenge. He just kind of had his way. So interested to see what comes for his next fight, and if he'll have an actual challenge. But yeah, this is just a domination.
yeah, and this was one of those weird fights too, where this guy is coming off this super long win streak, 2 championship, wins, and another organization comes over to the UFC in 2017, gets knocked out by Mike Perry, and then is just gone until last Saturday. So I mean, ring rust is real. We thought that he would definitely come out and just you know not not be able to win against completely, a younger, faster, better opponent. But Dominic Reyes is his brother, so you never know what's going to happen. But good to see. So we started off 2-0. This next fight, pretty impressive performance from Tracy Cortez. She gets the win, unanimous decision against Jasmine Jasudavicius. Two
Hmm.
30-27s on the scorecard for the judges, 129-28. Personally thought Jasmine won one of those rounds, but I could definitely see. I mean, 103 significant strikes to 77. Jasmine got a couple takedowns, had some more control time, so I thought maybe the judges would, give her one there. But the boxing was really impressive from Tracy. Usually we don't see that from her. Usually she's more of like a wrestling focused fighter. So that was really cool to see her just get out there and just put on an old school boxing. She was hitting the combos all night and just on Mexican Independence Day, just getting out there and piecing her up.
Yeah, and I mean, significant strike shows that Cortez was piecing her
Mm-hmm.
more than what Jasmine was, and I mean, we watched the fights together, and the comment of Jasmine's punches and like her shots just don't look as solid as Cortez,
They
like at
just didn't
all.
have that
It
pop at all.
it didn't. It looked almost telegraphed, and it didn't have like it was. clearly easy for Tracy Cortez to stand on the feet and combat against that. So, I mean, you saw some success with Jasmine, taking her down, but not enough. I think that she took way too long to, start getting to the ground. Um,
Yep.
and it caused the fight to just roll over in Cortez's favor. So,
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I personally did not like how Jasmine looked out there.
Yeah.
And hopefully she can turn it around, but she needs to, find one or the other, because I don't think on the feet is her strong point. I think she needs to start focusing in on taking people to the ground quicker.
Yep. Completely agree. Um, so first controversial fight of the night: Edgar Chairez versus Daniel
Disappointing.
Lacerda. Chairez was just about ready to lock in. I mean, he had a guillotine like ready to go on Daniel Lacerda. I mean, he had him good. He was about to be out, um, and the ref just stopped it just a little too short. So disappointing to see. See that stoppage. The refs should really be held accountable. I mean, this isn't the first time this specific ref has done this either. But yeah, it was not good. He had him. He was going to go out. I believe he was in there really tight. But
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, it
it's a
just
it's an easy win for Edgar if the ref doesn't stop it. Either, he submits him there because there's significant time still on the clock, and he had him good. So, I mean, you see this,
yeah.
the fight was stopped at 3:47, so he had a whole minute and 15 seconds to sit in that position. One, that's control time if for whatever reason Lacerda doesn't go out, and two, most likely he's going out. So it's a win in Edgar Chairez
Yeah.
books, but then the ref ruins it and gets a no contest, which is super disappointing because
Yeah.
Edgar looked sharp.
Yeah. Looked sharp. Disappointing for, definitely disappointing for Chairez. Disappointing for Lacerda as well. I thought that originally it was ruled a no decision. But I guess the scorecard shows a no contest. But I thought it was a no decision, which I think is slightly different than a no contest in terms of like how they get paid still and stuff like that. So, but yeah, the commission had to get involved and watch the replay, and it just not a good look for the refs. So, but
No,
we continue to
Herb Dean's fault.
something. Yes, Herb Dean's fault.
Phenomenal.
This next fight was like phenomenal. Roman Kopylov versus Josh Fremd. Kopylov knocked him out with an extremely devastating liver shots. Like kick into the punch, right in the liver, just immediately dropped. Second round. I mean, Kopylov is immediately one of my favorite fighters. I think that he really poses a threat in the middleweight division. He had great takedown defense, defended all 5 of Fremd's takedown attempts. I mean, was up 49-38 in significant strikes, but he threw 26 less strikes, was way more accurate, and his shots, his kicks, his punches, they were so fast and so hard. Like every shot he was throwing, it just like popped on the audio. Like it sounded painful, it looked painful, it looked so quick. Like I was like, oh my god, this guy is gonna make a real splash in the middleweight division in the coming years.
He looks good.
Yeah.
He looks fantastic. Yeah, like you said, the shots pop, and I mean it was showing on Fremd. The damn like
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot closer in significant strikes and total strikes than I would have thought, but you can see that in the fight, Kopylov's shots were doing damage. For only 22 significant strikes, my man Fremd was bleeding profusely.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
So
his whole body was red too from where he was getting kicked and punched, and I mean it was just it was murder. It was awesome.
it's
to
one
watch.
thing to log significant strikes; it's another to physically hurt your opponent with those significant strikes, because you can rack up and do barely any damage. He does damage, and it's going to show. He's going to do damage to that division.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really excited to watch him climb. I'm really excited to see who they book for him next. Hopefully he can get a worthy opponent. I mean, that's now 4 wins in a row in the UFC for him after he lost his first 2. fights in the UFC. He's came back. He's won 4 in a row, and he's looking good as ever. I mean, he looks good, better than most of the middleweight. Most of the middleweight division up until that top 5 or 6 maybe. I mean, the middleweight division's full of killers, so I think he could definitely be in that mix in the coming years, and I'm really excited to watch.
Yeah. Instant fan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Another fight that was just complete domination. Lupi Godinez versus Elise Reed. I mean, we called Lupi to win, but, I mean, she just... This was...
Ragdoll.
I don't know if you wanted to go first on this, but, I mean, it was just crazy.
I mean, just looking at the stats on the UFC page is painted red on her side. It's the only thing that's about dead even is the total strikes, but, I mean... That doesn't matter when you're getting taken down 5 times. You got 6 submission attempts. You got 21 significant strikes to 3, and then you got 1 knockdown. I mean, it's just it tells the tale.
Yeah, 5 takedowns, that's 6.5 minutes control. Got the submission,
and then wins by submission. Yeah,
it's. I mean, she picked her up and slammed her too, and I mean, she was doing it. She was styling on her. It was pretty cool to watch. I mean. And a lot of these female fights, I mean, there's not a lot of finishes. So I mean, they're good fights, but a lot of them go to decision. And it was cool to see such a dominating finish. I mean, even earlier in the night, Knudsen had a dominating performance, but not a finish. So it was really cool to see that finish, Mexican Independence Day. So it was really cool to watch. And now that was the prelim main fight. So now we get into the first, our second loss as on our decisions, on our picks. We only lost 2. We were 7-2. It should have been 9-2. Kyle Nelson beats Fernando Padilla on the scorecards, unanimous decision, 28-29, 28-29, 27-30. I thought it'd at least be a split decision. It was a really close fight. I thought Padilla had a chance. They were close on the significant strike, 72 to 82. Padilla threw more, and no takedowns. 0 for 1 for Padilla, 0 for 3 for Nelson. I mean, I was right about Nelson having that dog in him and being able to just
I was about to say,
but I didn't expect this.
Yeah, I mean, significant strikes by target. He's just edging him out in pretty much each category. I could see, how... I also agree. I'd see it being a split rather than a unanimous, but, I guess all the judges were on the same page for this fight.
Is that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a close fight. It was a close fight, and Nelson pulled through, and props to him for that. I definitely think that is a huge win for him, and he can. I don't think he'll do too much, but win's a win.
Yeah. I mean, UFC veteran coming in, getting the win. Canada versus Mexico. I mean, it was a good fight, but definitely didn't expect it. Next fight, Daniel Zellhuber with the second round sub via anaconda choke on Christos Iagos. We called this fight. We thought Zellhuber would definitely win. Significant strikes, dead even, 36-38 in the favor of Christos Iagos. But, takedowns, nobody got a takedown. And
0 for 6 on
0 for 6 for Iagos. Zellhuber got the good, anaconda choke. And it was a pretty good fight before then. Fun fact.
Yeah, pretty dead even. Total strikes were practically the same. Significant strikes were sitting same.
Yeah, I remember watching this fight, and it was a good fight. It was super close, and then all of a sudden, boom, locked in the anaconda and it got him out.
Yeah.
I mean, we did some jiu-jitsu classes for a little bit, and that's actually the first submission that they taught us. So that was pretty cool to see somebody finally use it in the UFC. I haven't actually seen it watching a live fight, anybody get an anaconda pulled on them. So, but good win for him. Raul Rosas Jr., 54 seconds into the first round, beats Terrence Mitchell. We called this. We didn't call it quite, a minute into it, getting a knockout. He
Yeah, I
knocked
did
him
not
out.
expect a knockout on the feet.
Yeah, I mean, we thought for sure he'd take him down and he'd just pummel him and get a TKO on the ground or get a finish, a sub on the ground.
Hmm.
But I mean, the way that he knocked him out, I mean, he kind of ate a shot and just wound up that left hook as hard as as far back as he could, just let it fly. It was so tight, boom,
Great
right there,
counter.
great counter, right on the chin, like just out. Like it was really cool to watch.
Yeah,
Um,
it showed his knockout potential on the feet. It shows that he's not just dangerous on the ground, but he can knock your lights out on the feet if he has to.
yeah, yeah.
Just
I mean, the kid's only
complete.
18.
Yeah,
He's
it's
only
crazy.
18. We're
And
6 years
it's a
older than him.
fantastic way to bounce back from his last loss. And he, like I was saying in the last podcast, he just looks more composed. He looks more mature. He's just carrying that attitude with him right now. And if it, I wasn't a hugest fan when he was more showboaty,
Hmm.
talking his stuff before. But now that he's kind of composed, gathered a loss and learned from it, I'm really impressed, and I'm excited to see him continue to go because I think he can run with this
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I will say I would like to see him get a tougher opponent,
for sure.
somebody that's going to challenge him like he was challenged in his last fight, because he really struggled when he was facing adversity. He didn't really face adversity much in this fight. I mean, Terrence Mitchell was out there throwing some wild shots, so I mean, he definitely could have easily connected with one of them. And we could be talking about this going the opposite way. Terrence
Hmm.
Mitchell knocks him out, so I'd really like to see Raul Rosas Jr. get into a fight, kind of a slugfest for a few rounds. Maybe he gets taken down. Maybe he has to, defend against a submission. What's going to happen when he's in deep waters and somebody's got him on the ropes. So I'd really like to
Yeah,
see
and
that.
you also see fighters that aren't necessarily as good as the other
Mm-hmm.
hit a good shot
Yeah.
and then it ends up getting them a win. So as much as it was just a domination, it was also that type of domination that could come from almost anyone. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so seeing something more, domination on the ground, which requires so much more skill than just throwing out a punch,
Mm-hmm.
would definitely be something I want to see. So, like I agree with you. I want to see him keep climbing, fighting some, you know, names, some good names.
Yep.
That'll be
Yeah, and there's a lot of those names in the bantamweight division. So I mean, he's obviously going to be climbing up the top pretty soon here. So when he gets up there, it's going to start getting tough. Real talented guys up there. So next fight, Jack Della Maddalena, split decision win over Kevin Holland. This is a pretty good one.
hmm
I thought it was easily 2 rounds to one for Jack. To be honest, the significant strikes was definitely. I mean, it was in Holland's favor. I mean, we were pretty split on this fight beforehand. I remember when we were doing the picks episode last week. I mean, it kind of came down the wire for your pick. You were like, oh, Kevin Holland, I don't know, he's good, he's so
yeah,
long, like I got to root for him. But then Jack is so good, and his boxing is
it played out
perfect.
exactly how I thought. They're
Yeah.
both great fighters. They
Mm-hmm.
both have an opportunity to win. Um,
Yeah.
and it shows as the decision was split. That means that possibly both could have won in this fight. So it was a pretty dang even fight. Now I
Mm-hmm.
think that the judges had judges that had the majority made the right decision and given it to Madalena. I also agreed with that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it was just great fight.
105 significant strikes for Madalena, versus 127 for Holland, but 190 thrown for Jack and 356 thrown
It's a
for
lot.
Holland. I mean,
It's a
Holland
lot.
was like I thought he was pacing so hard in the first round, 2 rounds. I thought he was for sure gonna gas out at some point, but
Hmm.
like I mean, he just never slowed down. He just kept throwing them, kept throwing an elbow, throwing out punches, throwing out kicks. I mean, he was just all over the place, and I mean, it was a pretty decent balance too between. I mean, 33 to the legs, 33 to the body, 59 to the head. I mean, it was pretty balanced for his shots. I just think that Jack's boxing was so clean. I think he put on such a masterclass defensively and was just completely. I mean, he dodged 219 significant. I mean, 29 significant strikes. I mean, his head movement was so clean. He was so quick. He was good popping in, getting a couple shots off, popping out. I mean, he was maybe a little too cautious at points, I think. But I mean, you got to respect a guy like Kevin Holland. You can't get too pushy. He's a good fighter. Even if he can't knock you out, if you get too close, you get too pushy, you're going for a finish, he can slip a submission on you. He can get a takedown quick. I mean, granted, Jack defended both takedowns Holland tried, but I mean, props to Jack, props to Kevin Holland. I'm excited to see both of them fight, both of them continue fighting, and who their next opponents are. I'm sure Jack's going to get somebody, pretty highly ranked in the welterweight division. And we'll see what Kevin Holland does. I'm sure he's probably going to fight here in like a week and a half. I mean, the guy's fighting every other event. It seems like
he's fighting so much.
He's fighting so much. Like there's like a new card that's like released or something. And I'm like looking. I'm like, oh, Kevin Holland, didn't he just fight like a month ago? Like what the heck's going on? He's fighting in another 2 months.
It feels like he's fighting on every single card.
Yeah, I mean, I'll look to see how many times he fought this year, but I mean, yeah, he's fought 3 times this year. Like, I mean, 3, 4. I mean, he could probably fight another time. I mean, 3 times in a year that's pretty active. But yeah, he's fighting a lot. I mean, then he fought in December, Stephen Thompson, and then he fought in September last year for Chimaev. So I mean, he's pretty much going every few months. I mean, so props to him too. And he's
definitely trying to get a fight whenever he can.
Yeah,
if he's cleared to do it and he can strike the deal, then he's taking it.
Yeah, and it's funny for him too, because most guys are like, oh, I want to fight, I want to stay active for honor, for legacy, and he's just like, nah, I want to stay active for the money. Like I want to get rich. You got to get rich. You got to keep fighting. So I'm like, all right, props to you for being honest about it. But so, one of the best fights I've ever seen. Period. Best women's fight I've ever watched, period. Alexa Grasso, Valentina Shevchenko, split draw. Absolutely inexcusable judging by Mike Bell.
Yeah.
Like 10-8 in the final round for Grasso. I'm pretty sure Valentina had control over like the first 3.5 minutes of that round. And Valentina makes one mistake, and Grasso gets her in trouble for the last minute and a half. But, I mean, at best, 10-9. It is a 10-9 round for Grasso. It is a 10-9 round.
I'd give it 10-9 to Grasso, but then that would give
Shevchenko
the win.
Belt, which she should have right now. So, I mean, this fight was very, very, very even.
There's not a world to me where it's 10-8.
Yeah.
I just don't. That makes no sense.
I know. And then, I mean, he gave the win in round 4 to Shevchenko, which was the closest round of the fight, which was where people were like real split on. And it was kind of like if you thought Shevchenko won the 4th, you thought she won the fight. If you thought Grasso won the 4th, you thought she won the fight. So, I mean, but he gave Shevchenko the 4th and then gave a 10-8 to Grasso. It's like almost like he was trying to make up for his. He's like, after the fact, he's like, oh, shoot, I gave a 10-9 to Shevchenko that round. Like, I don't know. I got to balance this out. It's just so weird to me. And it's just the worst judging I've seen since starting to watch the UFC. But it's really disappointing.
I've witnessed fights where I'm question, some of the decisions and such, but it was never to this point. This fight should have been decided amongst the two. There's no reason for it to be going to a split decision. It's just
This fight was too good for one of these women to not walk away the clear winner. Whether it's Grasso or Shevchenko. I mean, we picked Shevchenko. And we think she won the fight. I had her 48-47 on my my scoring, whatever that means. But I mean, I think she won. I think it was a really close fight. I think it was an amazing fight. And I mean, even if Alexa Grasso gets the win, one of these women deserves the win. I mean, now Alexa Grasso is in a point where she's fought Shevchenko 2 times in a row, and they just had a draw. And Shevchenko was winning the first one handedly. And so, I mean, now the only reasonable matchup is for them to fight again, a third fight for a rematch, to settle the score on the trilogy. That's the only fight to make. And Alexa Grasso probably wants to have some title defenses against lesser opponents. I mean,
Yeah.
she's the champ. She got the belt off of one of the greatest flyweights of all time. She fought her again, and she retained her belt. Granted, it was a draw, and I don't know if you saw the interviews at the end when they were interviewing her in the cage, and she said, "Oh, I won. I thought, I dominated. I did more damage." And Daniel Cormier is like, "But it was a draw," and she didn't know it was a draw for a minute there. But I mean, she's in a weird spot where she probably wants a couple easy title defenses, and she's just not going to get that. She's going to have
I
to
mean,
fight her again.
Shevchenko is like is the top threat
Yeah,
of the
exactly.
food chain.
Yeah,
She is like the person that keeps you up at night.
yeah,
So she wanted to walk away from this fight for sure, knowing that that's over with. I can focus on fighting these other people, which will be a lot easier of a challenge. Now, it's not guaranteed that she'll win, obviously, but it would be a lot easier than that fight. So now that she has to do it again, that's another burden, stress. It's more anxiety. I mean, I would feel the same way. Like it's just not a fight that you want to have to do again. And
yeah,
I'm sure Shevchenko's annoyed that she has to go and do this fight again.
yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
it's one thing to lose, like Alexa Grasso winning and then Shevchenko winning, and then they do another fight. That's a different story because, I took the belt, I took it back, and then you're fighting again. But from a split decision where the judges can't make up their minds, no one's happy.
yeah. And we have a women's strawweight, or flyweight, Figueiredo Moreno situation on our hands where it's
They're
just
just
going
gonna
to
fight
be.
till the end of time.
They're just going to be. I mean, it's going to be Figueiredo Moreno. I mean, Grasso Shevchenko like 5 here in like a year or something. We're going to be looking. They're going to get
Probably.
another. Shevchenko's going to win, and then Grasso's going to want an immediate rematch.
They might as well just draw every single match from here on out and just keep fighting, and no one gets a title fight.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind seeing them fight over and over again. But then
It's entertaining fight.
Yeah,
for
then
sure.
You have absolute
but it's just so much frustration.
You have absolute dogs ranked 3 and 4 in that division with Manon Fiorot and what we saw her do against Rose and Erin Blanchfield. I mean, you just have 2 absolute stud women fighters waiting, just looming, waiting for their chance too. And I mean, so it's not fair to them either because they both arguably deserve title shots.
It doesn't just affect these 2 fighters. This affects everyone in that division now.
Yeah, now the division's held up. It's just going to be a Grasso and Shevchenko. I mean, they had an absolute war for 5 rounds. How long is it going to take them? They got to take some time off. So, I mean, we're looking at February of next year for a rematch, maybe. I mean,
probably.
That's just now. Now, when does Blanchfield and Fiorot fight? I mean, do they fight next? Soon, and then when one of them get the title shot next year in like August or July or something. I mean, it's so long now that they all have to wait. So I feel for them. I feel for Shevchenko, definitely. I think she won. I feel for Grasso because people are now questioning the legitimacy of her title. So I don't, obviously I don't want that for anybody. So, it'd be kind of a similar situation if it was like a real close fight between Strickland and Izzy and they gave him the belt. But Sean Strickland completely dominated Izzy, so nobody's questioning that. People are definitely questioning, Grasso's, championship pedigree now. I mean, she put on a great performance, so it sucks. It sucks for that.
I will say she put on a much better performance than I thought she would. I thought it would have been a Shevchenko just domination. But she really showed a lot more than I expected, so give her that. But this whole situation is just a shit show.
Yep. So I was really disappointed, but it is what it is. So let's move on to the upcoming fight night on Saturday. Rafael Fiziev versus Metu. I don't even know how to say his Gamrot. I'm not saying his first name. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
At the Apex Center in Las Vegas. So the prelims start at 4 p.m. Eastern. Our first fight is Tamirez Vidal versus Montserrat Rendon. I don't know if you want to start us off with your pick.
Yeah, I can start flying through these prelims. So I got Vidal winning. So Rendon has great grappling and wrestling, but her striking's just not where it needs to be. Vidal, on the other hand, has a very strong Muay Thai fighting style and great kicking, great striking. She's not as good in the ground as Rendon, but I think if it goes there, that she can survive. So I think the shots on the feet are what get Vidal this win, and I think it'll go to decision.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I have Vidal winning this one too. Like you said, Vidal's got really a good Muay Thai background, really explosive striking, great kicks, good boxing. And Rendon just doesn't have that. She's not good on the feet at all. Very, very poor stand-up game, great wrestler, but Vidal does have good takedown defense, so I think she'll be able to fend her off. I think she'll be able to get this win. I think it could be a knockout for Vidal, to be honest. So I think that, Montserrat's stand-up game is just so weak that, Vidal's going to be able to keep the game on the feet. And if she can do that, I just don't see how this makes it out of 3 rounds. I don't see if she can't hang with her for 3 rounds. It'd be like, in my opinion, the difference in skill is like if one of us were to go box against a UFC middleweight or something. It just would not last very long. Like,
nah, I got it.
Oh yeah, you got it. Oh my gosh. All
No.
right, next fight: Mizuki versus Hannah Goldie. I will start us off. I think so. Mizuki hasn't fought in a while. She is well-rounded. She's a good striker. She's got really good boxing, good high guard. Not a lot of power. Super quick. I think she wins this one pretty handedly. Hannah is a bodybuilder.
And it shows.
You would think.
I'll tell you that.
You would think she's a bodybuilder if you looked at her. I mean, she is ripped. Holy moly!
That's deceptive sometimes, though.
It's really deceptive. So, I mean, she's kind of slow and kind of robotic in her, her takedowns and her ground game, because of it, and her stand up because of it. She's got really strong striking. So like as far as like power, so she's got some power obviously because she can probably bench a whole house. She's got that going for her, but I just don't think. I think the experience is going to show. Mizuki's got 20 fights. Hannah Goldie's got 9. Mizuki has 8 armbar finishes and 1 rear naked choke. I think that it's probably going to go to decision, but I could definitely see a submission for Mizuki here. I just don't think that Hannah is going to be able to keep up with her. And I mean, Molly McCann knocked out Hannah Goldie, and we saw, how poorly Molly McCann really did outside of the hype, right?
Yep.
She was a hype magnet, her and Patty, of course. But the second she gets a real opponent, she got completely dominated. So we can see, if Molly's able to go out and knock out Hannah, then, I just don't think she's going to be able to hang with Mizuki.
Yeah, I also have Mizuki winning. Touching basically on all the stuff you said, she has solid boxing, and her head movement's great. She has a lot of fights under her belt against formidable opponents. Goldie, not so much. She has decent boxing, but she tends, like the build you're talking about, her build is like a bodybuilder.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone knows the bigger you are, the harder it is to move around as well. So I think Mizuki has that advantage. So Goldie will be a bit more, center line with her head, won't have that movement, and will get hit a lot more. Now, I have in my notes that submission, ? I think that there is a chance that submission comes out. Mizuki has been out for about 3 years now, and hasn't had a fight. I think that can be, bad for some fighters, but that's also opportunity to come in fresh off of, some good training. I think we could see an absolute dominant performance from Mizuki, and I think that we'll see a submission. I'm going to lock it in.
8 arm bars is crazy. Out of 20 total fights, 14 wins and 8 of them are arm bars. What the heck? You're just trying to hurt people at that point. Like, you're just trying to break their arm and end their career. Like, give me Mizuki. So we both agree, submission. So next fight, Muhammad Usman, Kamaru Usman's brother, who was a has been NFL player who tried to be a pro football player, decided, hey, maybe fighting's for me. 10-2, so maybe it is for him. Against Jake Collier, the super out of shape, fat, previous middleweight. So you want to start us off on this one?
Yep. So you're getting into my exact notes here. I have Usman. These are both big fighters. They're both very heavy. And they both can be sloppy. But like you said, Usman is an athlete. He's just a pure athlete. His size, you can tell he's just ripped, and it's almost like comparing Tai Tuivasa to Cyril Gahn. So both these fighters have the opportunity of getting gassed in this fight, but Usman is an athlete, and I think that will show in this fight. So Jake Collier's just a chubby guy, and it's gonna show.
Being nice.
So I think Muhammad will find control of the fight, by round 2, if not sooner, and he should be able to just dominate Jake.
Yeah, I mean, Jake is super fat and out of shape.
He used to be a lot more slimmed down.
Collier is also out of shape. No, I'm just kidding. He's very out of shape. I mean, at middleweight, he was a big, powerful striker. But he's now 80 pounds heavier. He's 260. He's a pretty decent kickboxer. He's got good first round pressure. Pretty good kickboxer, but I mean, he slows down so much. I mean, as you can see, he's completely out of shape.
When you're that big and
like
in the shape that he is, you're gonna get gassed super quick.
Yeah. And I mean, Usman already beat a real technical kickboxer in one of his last fights. So, Collier is a good kickboxer, yeah, but he doesn't have the power that you need in this division. Usman can really eat some shots. So I think this fight's probably going to go to decision. I don't think either one of those guys really get the finish. I think minus 145 value on Usman is like massive. I don't know why he's not a bigger favorite. I think he easily gets this win. I think this is like one of my locks, honestly. Like, this is probably the fight I'm most confident in calling. So I don't understand why he's not a bigger favorite, but it's massive value, in my opinion. So moving on to the next fight, Jacob Malkoun versus Cody Brundage. I think Jacob wins this fight and just absolutely dogs him. And I mean, just whoops him. Cody's on a 3-fight loss streak. His last performance, he was out grappled by a striker. Jacob's kind of got an old school wrestling style, and he's a better boxer. I mean, he's better than Cody is at what Cody is at his strength and takedowns and wrestling. So I just don't see a path to victory for Cody. I'm very confident Jacob's going to win. He's probably going to get a finish. Say probably second round. Obviously, it's hard to call a first round finish, but I'd say probably a second round finish for Jacob here. I just don't see how Cody can win at all.
Yep, I also have Malkoun to win. You touched on it. Brundage, his last fight, looked absolutely horrible, and he was outclassed on the ground in the grapple by a fighter who's known for kickboxing, which, that speaks for itself. If you can't do better than a kickboxer, and that you don't have a chance against Malkoun. Malkoun has that dog in him to fight through adversity, and he's a great fighter on the ground. So, I mean, he's just better all around in both categories, and there's just nothing Brundage is going to be able to do here. I'll call it with you, second round knockout.
Yep. So, moving on to our next, Tim Means, UFC veteran, 39 years old, versus Andre Fiejo. So let's, you ready to get into this one?
Yeah. So, I mean, 10 years, that alone, I mean, the younger you are, the more, grit and to adversity that you have. That's such an edge. He looked well in his most recent fight. He looked to be winning. He did get knocked out. So I think the biggest threat for him is getting hit in the chin. I think if he gets hit by something, there's a chance of him getting knocked out. That's where most of his losses come from, is getting knocked out. So I think if he's poised and calculated on his feet and can keep his chin untouched, then I think he should be able to win.
Yeah, I mean, he touched it. He got knocked down in his last fight, but he looked good. He's looked good in a few fights in a row now, but he's got knocked out 3 times in a row, which is it kind of makes me nervous. But Tim Means has also lost 3 fights in a row. 39 years old. I mean, this is probably the end of his career. Probably, if he loses this one, I can see the UFC cutting him, or maybe giving him some veteran favor and giving him one more fight. But yeah, I just don't see a way that Tim Means can win this fight outside of just hitting a lucky shot right on the chin. I think it's going to be an interesting close fight. I think this probably goes to a decision. But I think that Andre is faster, more heavy-handed. He's got a bad chin, like we talked about. But it's gonna be a good fight. I think one of the better fights on the prelim card. So, but I'm looking forward to it. But definitely got Andre.
Yep.
So moving into the final prelim fight, Dan Argueta versus Miles Johns. I think that Miles Johns wins this one. I think he knocks out Dan. I think that this is the absolute value of the night in terms of betting, because I mean he's a plus 155 underdog right now, and he's a good wrestler, and Dan has good wrestling. He's got good annoying chain wrestling, good pressure with that. But Miles is really explosive in terms of his boxing, and he's got huge power, and he's got really, really good close game boxing. So if he can get inside, get a hook, get an uppercut, something, I mean, he can just turn his lights off immediately. And he's got pretty decent takedown defense. So even if Dan's shooting, I can see a world where Miles just doesn't go down and just doesn't let him take him down and just keeps the fight on the feet. And I think if this fight stays on the feet, even outside of a couple let's say Dan gets a couple takedowns, which he's probably going to get at least one, maybe 2, and that's in best case scenario for Miles. I think. The rest of the fight's on the feet. Dan can't stand with Miles, so I think Miles gets the win. I think he gets a knockout in the second round. That's my pick, and as an underdog, that's crazy.
Yeah, I agree. I am also picking Miles John for the win. I think that Dan he's good on the ground for sure. He has superior wrestling, but I think that John has that ability to defend himself enough to where he'll end up having the punching power on the feet to land some big shots, shake him up, and I'm thinking he's gonna knock him out. Yeah, I mean, Dan is no Dagestani, so when it comes to the ground game, it doesn't scare me as much as if he's fighting someone like Islam that's out of that. So yeah, I think that on the feet, Johns ends up getting a knockout.
Yep, completely agree.
So yeah, I would agree with the value of that pick.
Yeah,
with him being an underdog, that's probably the biggest value underdog you're gonna get, in a while.
Yeah, I mean that's almost 2-1 on your money for somebody that I think is just gonna win the fight outright. Just crazy. I don't even know. I don't know what the knockout value is, but I bet it's like plus 700 or something. So yeah, that's probably crazy.
Worth throwing something down.
Yeah. So the first fight of the main card: Ricardo Ramos versus Charles Jourdain. Let me mute that. So I think that. Wait, did I start the last one?
I'll go.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, yeah. So I think that this is about as even as a coin flip out of these fights as you can get. I could see myself going either or. But I think that the Jourdain has the edge slightly. I think that he has the technical southpaw fight stance with some very fast, explosive shots that can give him the edge against Ramos. However, Ramos does have great unpredictable strikes. And so I could see him, clipping Jourdain with some of those. But I think that Jourdain will have the discipline on the feet and be able to hit him with some good explosive shots. Now, to mention also, Ramos missed weight on his last fight. I think this is going to factor in. I think that Ramos was supposed to fight someone that wasn't as good as Jourdain, and then he ended up missing weight and he didn't fight. I don't like. I think I have this weird, almost like a stigma that if you miss your weight, then you're not taking it as serious. And I think that gives the edge to Jourdain. I think he's going to be more disciplined. I think just has that the edge. I don't know. That's how I feel with this.
Yeah.
Even if a coin flip, I think that if you don't have the mindset of hitting weight, getting in the ring and fighting an opponent, and if you want to win and go places in divisions, you have to, like, the bare minimum is to make weight.
Yeah.
So
Completely
I think
agree.
the people that get away with it are like absolute studs, like Kazmat Chimaev. If he misses weight,
Doesn't
he's
matter.
still just an absolute beast. He's gonna beat down whoever he wants. But when it comes to like these fighters, I think that you have to have that discipline,
Yeah.
and you should never be missing weight.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it's still very even. I could see either or. I don't see much value in betting on these guys because who knows?
Yeah. I mean, Charles is a minus 150 favorite. I mean, at slight edge. Ricardo's a plus 125 underdog. Super coin flippy fight. Um, talking about weight cuts. Just wait until we talk about the Hamzat versus Paulo Costa, and then Charles Oliveira versus Islam too. I mean
This is
that's
the
like
ultimate
yeah,
weight cut.
it's the ultimate triad of weight cut misser. Like I mean, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be so nervous. I'm gonna be watching that weight cut like on the ESPN
Yeah,
like
it's gonna be the
plus
first
like
time I'm sitting intensely watching a weight cut.
like oh my god, please please weigh in.
Yeah.
One of them's probably gonna miss. um, but anyways, getting into this fight, I mean, like you said, super coin flippy. In my notes, Charles is quick and accurate. So I think that that's probably going to give him this edge. I think it's going to be a good fight. Probably going to go the distance. Ricardo is kind of crafty, but with that comes, I think, low IQ in terms of fighting IQ. He's throwing some weird, questionable strikes out in the past. I think Charles is a pretty good combo striker, but he's real quick and accurate, like I said. Like you said, Ricardo missed weight. So I think just the combination of those things, the weight cut, the mentality, the quick accuracy, the quick accurate striking of Charles, I think gives him a slight edge. Probably a split decision or unanimous 2-1 type deal. So as close as it gets, coin flippy as it gets. I definitely won't be touching this with money at all. Maybe like a prize picks prop or something for like over on significant strikes for one of them or both of them, because I think this fight's going to be, they're going to be throwing out a lot of strikes. It's going to go the full way.
Yeah.
But next fight, Brian Battle versus AJ Fletcher. This is really weird. Brian Battle has a 10-inch reach advantage as a welterweight over AJ Fletcher.
Crazy.
I wish AJ Fletcher would fight at a lower weight class. I mean, because this guy is ripped and he's got strong striking. And if he fought at lightweight, he'd probably be pretty dangerous. But he doesn't fight at lightweight. He fights at welterweight for whatever reason. And I think that the long reach and the long rangey kickboxing of Brian Battle is going to get this one done for him. He's going to control the distance. I mean, he's got decent power too for a long rangey kickboxer. So, I think that he's going to get the win that way. But he's also got decent wrestling and a decent submission game. I mean, he got a choke submission on the Ultimate Fighter when he won. So I think that I have written in my notes minus 170 for Brian's good value. The line's moved to minus 190 now. And I did my notes on this fight earlier today. So the public's already betting heavy on Brian. The line's already moved 20 points. So I think he's going to handedly win. Don't think it's going to be all too close. But I think that this is one of those fights that could get a finish here. But I just don't think AJ has the tools to get the job done against Brian.
Yeah, I agree. Brian Battle's going to take this win. It shouldn't be very close. I mean, the 10-inch reach advantage is crazy. And I agree with you. I think if Fletcher moved down, he'd have a lot more success. but he's just not gonna have the opportunity. Battle has the lockout potential with a combination of high and low kicks from his kickboxing, and then he's also good on the ground, like you touched on. I think that he absolutely has the opportunity of getting a submission. I mean, with that reach, the reach that he has, he should be able to get him on the ground and look for a choke pretty easily. Um, so I'm gonna say that he's getting a submission in this fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to grapple against somebody who's real long and lanky with those long arms. I mean, it's hard to strike against somebody like that.
Yeah,
But I mean, on the ground, it's a real advantage too. People don't always think about that. Some people are like, "Oh, he's got shorter arms and he's strong. He's good at wrestling. He can out wrestle him." I mean, it's real hard to get submissions if you get short, little stubby arms. I mean, he doesn't really even have stubby arms, but he's just Brian's much longer. A lot of these guys in the division are much longer than him. So yeah, I wish he would move down a weight class. Maybe he will. Maybe he loses this fight. Maybe him and his coaching staff goes, we move down, we probably make a splash. So
yeah.
it'll be a harder weight class. Obviously, the dude's stacked. I don't know what he's walking around at, but he's absolutely ripped. So gonna be a good fight. I think Brian gets the win. Marina Rodriguez versus Michelle Waterson Gomez 2. This is a rematch. They both had a 5-round fight before, and Marina beat her. I think Marina's going to beat her again. I think Michelle, in a 3-round match, this kind of leans more into Marina because I think Michelle kind of got cooking later on in that fight in the 4th round, maybe, middle of the 4th round last time when they were fighting. I think it just plays more into Marina's skill set. She's more of a good Muay Thai striking. I mean, she's got good inside and outside striking. So with the close-up, boxing type striking, high guard, as well as outside rangy long strikes and kicks. So she's got good takedown defense as well. I think that she is going to get the win here. I think that Michelle does have good knockout ability. So that's something to look for. But I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a good fight. I think it's going to be a pretty good fight. I think it's going to go to decision. I think Marina's definitely going to win, though.
Yeah, I have Rodriguez to win as well. I think you touched on it exactly. Gomez just took a little bit to get in her groove and get into those good grappling positions. It was round 4 once she got to those. But like you said, there's only 3 rounds here, so she doesn't have time on her side, and she's going to need to find her groove quick. And especially with these women fighters, they like to feel out their fights. So I think that, like you were saying, it gives the edge to Rodriguez with her fighting style and the way that she can strike and get in her Muay Thai. That should be able to edge out Gomez at decision. It'll be a good fight. They're both great fighters, so excited to see it. 2 pretty evenly matched opponents, but yeah, just that edge on her fighting style should land her more significant strikes for a win at decision.
Yep, completely agree. So next fight we have Bryce Mitchell, -205 favorite, versus Dan Ige, +170. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, Mitchell's a beast on the ground. That's an understatement.
Dude's wrestling is crazy.
Yeah, and not to mention how do you say his name? I don't have his Ige? Dan Ige?
Yeah, Ige.
Yeah, Ige. So Dan Ige in his last fight, or it might not have been his last fight, but he got taken down 9 times in one of his fights.
Oh, yeah.
9 times.
Yeah, he did. I think it was his last fight.
Yeah.
Could be mistaken.
If you're getting taken down 9 times, Mitchell's going to do the same thing to you. Mitchell's going to ragdoll you. Mitchell is going to take you to the ground, and it's just going to be domination. I don't think there's going to be much of a fight here at all.
Yeah. I mean, I'm completely in agreement. People are super low on Bryce Mitchell after he lost his last fight, but he lost to Ilia Topuria. I mean, he lost to that dude, the #1 featherweight. I mean, Ilia's good. Ilia's that guy. I mean, and he lost to him. Granted, yes, but just because he lost to one of the great featherweight fighters, you think he's going to lose to Dan Ige? I mean, I just don't. A guy that got taken down 9 times. I think the UFC booked this fight. They know Bryce Mitchell's a draw. If he's on a pay-per-view card, people are going to tune in. He's definitely a draw. He said he was the cash cow in the division. He's wrong, but he is a draw. He is a cash cow for the UFC. I think they kind of booked this fight very similarly to Raul Rosas Jr.
Yeah.
Not quite as lopsided as that fight was in that booking, but similar type of fight. Book a fight for the guy that you think he's most likely going to win, get him back on track, get a big hype post fight interview in the octagon going viral. Dude's weird. I mean, he doesn't think gravity exists. So I don't know what to do with that information, but gravity is going to exist when he's pinning Ige to the canvas on Saturday night. So
Yeah.
I definitely think he wins handedly, like you said. I mean, he's that dude with wrestling. So, yeah, I just don't see a way that Ige can win this fight at all. So Rafael Fiziev, the main event versus don't know how to say his first name, Matuz. That's probably wrong, 100% wrong. Gamrot. I have Fiziev in this one. Maybe I think he gets a KO later on in the fight. Gamrot's. This is kind of like a very interesting matchup where like you have one end of the spectrum and like a great grappler versus another end of the spectrum and like a great striker, like meeting head to head. Like people were always like, oh, some people were the striker wins if he can keep a good defense, like keep him off of him and have good takedown defense. Like, oh, the grappler is going to win if he can just, get him down once or twice and then ragdoll him. But I think that with the fight like this, with Fiziev having such great takedown defense, I mean, he has 90% takedown defense throughout his career. And he fought a really close fight with Justin Gaethje. Really close fight. The baddest mother on the planet right now with the BMF belt. So, and we saw what he did to Dustin Poirier. So, I mean, he fought a really close fight with him. Some people think he won. So, I think he's got really close. Granted, Justin's body rejects wrestling. So, I think that he's got good takedown defense, though. I think that he can fend off Gamrot. And a lot of the times in these fights with a good striker like Fiziev, if you can have good takedown defense and you can keep off the wrestler and the guy who likes to grapple and go to the ground, I think that you really have an advantage. That's why Israel Adesanya, back to him. That's why he won so many, had so many title defenses and he won so many fights. And he's already, in his short few years in the UFC, in that conversation with greatest of all time already with, the Spider. So I think that he's going to have some more success if he can just, have some good takedown defense and some good striking, and I think maybe later on he gets knocked out one of the later rounds.
Yeah, I think Fiziev has the knockout potential to take Gamrot out. I think that will be the case. Gamrot, 31% takedown accuracy against 90% takedown defense. I mean, Fiziev should be able to keep this on the feet. I think it will. And he'll land some shots that are going to stun Gamrot. And, to keep it short and sweet, it's going to be a knockout. I think that this fight is for Fiziev. I think he will, and like you said, he's fought Justin Gaethje. He's such a good fighter. And if it's a close fight, you practically give that as a win to Fiziev.
Mm-hmm.
And Gamrot's just he's not quite at that level. Even though it's a different fighting style, I just don't think that he has the potential to put this. I don't think it's gonna. It could be a decently close fight up until the point that Gamrot gets hit with something big, and I think that is almost guaranteed to come at some point, especially in a 5-round.
Yeah, and I can see this fight going to decision via the route. Like you said, Gamrot has a 31.71 takedown accuracy, but he's got 4.54 takedowns a match. I mean, he's just like a spam chain wrestler at the finest. I mean, he's throwing out takedown. I mean, he's trying. He's such a rat, right? Those guys
I'm
on
sure
TV that we watch and we're like, oh my god, can you just throw a punch? Like, stop going for a takedown. Like,
I could see this going to the floor at some point.
Yeah.
And a big chunk of the time being taken out of the fight. But I don't see it being enough to win.
Yeah. No, this is going to be a fight where maybe he's like 1 for 9 on takedowns or something like that, or 1 for 10. And Fiziev, I think, can fend him off for most of them. He gets taken down maybe once, twice, but most of it's on the feet. And I think that Gamrot just can't hang with them on the feet. So we're both in agreement there. That's 2 cards in a row where we pick all the same
100%
fights.
agreement.
So, I bet you next one we're going to be opposite on every single fight. So before we go to the fighter fantasy draft that we have every week, I want to do something a little different this week, and I cooked up a little parlay that is $10 to win $125. So starting off the parlay, we have Vidal winning. We both think that Vidal is going to win. So I have Vidal in there to win this one. I have Usman in at minus 145. I think he's going to for sure win. I also have Miles Johns in at plus 155 to really boost it. I think that he's going to win. I think that really adds some good value to it. And I have Brian Battle in at minus 190. And then I have Bryce Mitchell at minus 205. So that's $10 to win $125.47. So I think it's really good value. For a little five legger to cook up real quick, and I want to start doing that, making a little parlay, seeing if I can get on a little hot streak. So yeah, I don't know if you disagree with any of the fights that I put in there. I kind of just did it last minute on the spot, and I didn't say anything.
Yeah, we have the same ideas on these fights, and we agree on all of them. So I think I would absolutely tail that. And there's some good value, especially with Miles John being an underdog and Usman only being at minus 135. You got some good value on these. So
really juices it up. And there's a couple fights that we think is going to be in domination that I don't have in there. Just because minus 340 and minus 600, that's just that line's spread too far to really, that's almost, you're adding minus 600, you add to that parlay, you get maybe $10, and you're adding in the chance that Cody gets knocked out. Something crazy happens. It's variability.
Ruins the leg.
It's just not worth it. You're putting $10 up to win 125. So there's no need to just get greedy and go for that last little $5 or whatever it is. And the same thing with the Mizuki and Goldie. I think Mizuki's going to win, but Goldie's got some power. So she could land a shot, knock her out. She hasn't fought in 3 years.
Seen crazier things.
Seen crazier things. So I think that's a pretty safe one. I'm going to be locking that one in as well. So, but now we'll move into the last bit of the podcast. We'll do a little fighter fantasy draft. So I think I got the first pick last week, correct? Because I picked Raul Rosas. And I actually won last week, by the way. So I am 2-1 now. Jake is 1-2. He's got me in picks on the since we've been doing this, straight up fighter picks, but I got him in the fantasy draft. So I'm on, I think, 2 in a row that I got you, or did I win the first one? I don't remember, but I got you
2 in a row. Yeah, I got the first one.
You got the first one, but then I had Rosas last week, who got me I did the points, and it was it was crazy. So first round knockout so quick. But all right, well, you get the first pick. And who are you taking?
Going through these, trying to find. I don't know. I feel like there's so many decent. I feel like there's not any absolute standouts other than maybe, I don't know, maybe Mitchell. I'll just take Mitchell.
Mitchell, okay.
In terms of absolute standout, and some of these previous weeks, you have this guy that you think is absolutely gonna dominate. Mitchell's gonna dominate, but I'm thinking a knockout in the first round. Who has that potential? I don't know. I don't think anyone stands out as an absolute opportunity for a knockout, but
no, I agree. I'm going to be taking Jacob Malkoun with my first selection. And then the second one's kind of tough because the people I'm looking through, you have Marina Rodriguez, Brian Battle, Miles Johns interest me, but I think I'm going to go Fiziev here. I think that the value in having one of these fighters in this fight that I think is going to go maybe 4 or 5 rounds before there's a finish. I think that either one of these guys, even if they lose, still going to put up some good value potentially. So maybe not Gamrot if he can't hit a couple of takedowns, but if he can, big value on that. So I'm going to go ahead and take Fiziev though.
I'm going to go ahead and gamble with Miles Johns with a knockout.
I like it.
And then I'm also going to take Mizuki because I think that that submission is going to come out as well.
Yeah,
so I think those are 2 finishes that have the opportunity to be in fights.
Yeah, and if that comes out in the first round, that's going to be huge. I was hoping that you didn't take one of these guys. I am going to take both Charles Jourdain and Ricardo Ramos in this fight. I think it's going to be a close one. So I think that, the fact that I think it's probably going to go 3 rounds, I think these guys are going to get a lot of strikes in. So I'm going to go ahead and take both of these guys and hopefully get a stack of some good striking.
All right.
So I think all the obvious people are pretty much gone now.
Yeah, it's getting a little more slim. We're getting into fights that are more likely to go the distance and not so much points. Who do you have a dollar at? I just don't think that there's much for that fight in terms of points. This is tricky.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Battle. I think that reach advantage. He also has the opportunity for like a submission and for a knockout. I think that's definitely a possibility. So Brian Battle, and then let's go with all right, I'm looking back at some of these. Let's do Andre Fiallo.
All right. So I am going to take just kind of dice rolls now at this point. I think I'm going to take Dan Argueta. Purely, I don't think he's going to win, but in terms of points, he's the favorite. He's got good takedown. He's got good, wrestling. If he can get a hold of Miles and submit him or something, it's big points. So I'm just going to go ahead and take him.
Opportunities there.
Opportunity, upside. It's more risk reward because I don't think that he's going to do great in the fight, but there's that chance that he gets that lucky takedown, gets submission or something. So I'm going to take him. And then I'm also going to take Usman. I think because this fight's going to go the distance, I think that they're going to be slugging it out. There's going to be some takedowns involved. So I think he's going to be a solid, a solid kind of mid-tier point getter in terms of to balance out that volatility of Dan.
Cool. You haven't taken Marina Rodriguez, right?
Nope.
Okay, I'll grab her. We both agreed we thought this fight was going to be pretty close, going the distance. But I do have the edge to her. So I'll take it. I don't know. Coin flip, in terms of these picks. So I guess now I should look towards maybe a possible upset. I don't like this Vidal-Rendon fight in terms of points. I don't think that's going to be anything crazy going on there. Upset. Let's think of an upset. Random Collier knockout. I don't know. So it's really between. I don't like the Collier actually because he's.
What are you thinking about right now?
EJ Fletcher. Probably means because there's the opportunity that
He gets a
his chin
knockout.
goes. There's that opportunity that the chin goes by
Yeah.
some stray shot.
And you got both of the guys in that fight, so and I
Yes.
think the road to victory for Means is that like first round knockout or second round knockout, and that's huge. That's enough points to make up for having them both.
Yeah, I think
So
there's the opportunity. I think that that's how he wins. So if for some reason he does, it'll
mhm.
be a knockout, and that'll be a lot of points. So I don't expect it to be the case, but
Yeah, I'm gonna take
opportunity
opportunity. Sounds like a
sounds
new
like a new
opportunity.
opportunity.
I'm gonna take Vidal. She's one of the fighters left that I think are going to be pretty big in the win department, and just kind of little domination action. Kind of the last fighter I think that's going to really get a really easily kind of handed win. And then I'm going to go ahead and take Goldie for the same reason that you took Tim Means.
Yeah,
Maybe a knockout. Maybe she
maybe.
lands a big shot, and then that's 100 points. So go ahead and throw out the dart.
All right, and I guess similar reason Collier. It's a heavyweight bout, so I mean these
Yeah,
guys are big. So I
they're
don't
going to
think
swing and
he's
bang at
gonna
some
do
point.
much. I think he's gonna get tired, and then the fight's gonna go to Usman's favor by the second round. But who knows? Maybe something comes out and clips Usman in the chin. I don't think it'll happen, but the new opportunity is there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now for me, it's really between AJ Fletcher or Dan Ige, because I think Bryce Mitchell's taken Ige to the ground and ragdolls him. I don't think there's the opportunity for Ige to do really anything at all.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go with AJ Fletcher, somehow pulling
Okay.
in some points.
Whew. So the fighters we have left: Cody Brundage, Montserrat Rendon. I really don't want anything to do with those two. Um, and then there is Michelle Waterson Gomez, Dan Ige, and Gamrot. Don't want Ige. So I guess give me Gamrot and Michelle. And you know, maybe Michelle, maybe goes to the decision. She racks up a good amount of points. Gamrot maybe gets a few takedowns here and there. So don't think that's really going to happen for either one of them. But we're getting to the end of the line. I mean, we're picking fighters off of what is this, 11 fights? So I mean,
Yeah. Just give me the two Cody Brundage and Dan Ige.
and that leaves me with the dumpster fire of the evening, Montserrat Rendon.
Have fun.
Yep. Well, I will say at least I have both of these fighters, so I don't
Yeah.
mind it too much. So Montserrat gets a big win somehow. She takes her down and chokes her out in the first 5 minutes or whatever. At least I have them both, so got that security a little bit, I guess. So, but we shall see tomorrow who gets the win there. So we will be actually both golfing tomorrow afternoon. Speaking of golf, we'll be talking big Ryder Cup stuff next week. Ryder Cup is next weekend, so it starts in a week from now. So we're gonna get the episode out a little earlier next week, and make sure that we get it in time to really talk about some Ryder Cup action before the Ryder Cup starts. But just one piece of golf news I want to touch on is look out for Justin Thomas, because the man finished like fifth.
Came in hot.
It came in hot. Finished like fifth in the Fortnite Championship, and he switched to a longer driver shaft, and he immediately averaged over 340 yards off the tee the whole tournament. So
Big move.
that is big distance.
I love to see that, especially right
Yeah.
before the Ryder Cup.
Oh yeah, I mean he's been
we were
struggling for a
touching on
while.
it. We were touching on it, when they're first announcing the teams and such. And my concern was Justin Thomas because he was struggling this season. So seeing him, bounce back in this tournament right before the Ryder Cup, that is big news, especially for America. And I already had America at edge, but that puts me even further along for them because if he's on his A game right now, that team's looking deadly.
And Brooks Koepka has a nasty filthy Southern American mullet now. So I don't know if you
America.
saw his. He got a barber over and he got a mullet. It's ugly. It's gross. It's American. So I mean, we're gonna see it. His nasty mullet.
He always
waves
was
floating
more.
to the breeze.
He's always more proper with his hair, and now it's
Then he's just got this
something
like
special,
nasty.
huh?
He's got this nasty like. It looked kind of like my hair did before I got a haircut the other day. It was just like flopping all over the place, curly, and just like doesn't care. And then he gets it cut, and now it's just a nasty mullet. So I hate mullets, by the way. I think they're gross. But
Oh yeah.
America. So we'll talk next week about Ryder Cup. We'll talk next week about UFC event. I don't remember what UFC event's coming up. Let me check.
You got a bit.
We got a
lot of fight nights.
Wow, yeah, we got a lot of fight nights. So the first pay-per-view is October 21st, and that is the Makhachev Oliveira 2. So that's super exciting. And then we got, then we're really in for kind of a treat for a little bit there. So then we got John Jones, Stipe Miocic, just 2-3 weeks after that. And then we have Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington a month after that. So exciting stuff happening later this year for the UFC, but we're kind of in a lull right now. I'm looking at the schedule. Nothing really crazy coming up.
No big names.
Yeah,
Bobby Green's fighting again. That's another Holland right there. He's fighting all the time.
Grant Dawson and Bobby Green are fighting to headline a fight night in October.
That's not
7th.
a great headline.
That's really, you can see the dead period we're in. So great job, Dana White. You could have spread your stuff out a little bit. But whatever. We'll talk about it nonetheless and make our picks. So looking forward to it as always. So we will be watching the fights while we are golfing tomorrow, and we will keep an eye on things. So as if anything crazy happens, updates like live. I'll tweet out a little bit live why fights are happening, but obviously we'll be golfing, so don't want to spend too much time on my phone, doing that outside of watching the fights and listening to them. So, do you have any closing remarks, Jake, or are we ready to wrap this up?
Yeah, if everyone that has made it to this point, go ahead and hit the like button because that's going to help the algorithm.
Yeah, leave a comment too.
It's going to help us start reaching out to more people. We want more exposure, so.
Yeah, even if you like this stuff, comment. If you hate this stuff, comment. Tell us why you hate this stuff. If you disagree with us, comment. If you agree with us, comment. So just take a second, hit the subscribe button, notifications on, like, comment. As always, too, if you're looking to getting into your own content creation, streaming, making your own videos, clips for TikTok, Instagram, Reels, whatever, YouTube Shorts, go ahead and record your stuff on Streamlabs and get Streamlabs Ultra. Get a year membership. Head to the description, sign up for that. So it helps out the channel as well. So with that being said, this is the Kocsis Sports Podcast. Looking forward to the UFC Fight Night Fiziev versus Gamrot. I'm your host, Christian Kocsis. Jake Standard. As always, we will catch you next time.